The will reading was exactly what Cassandra had orchestrated, a perfect performance of greed and manipulation. I sat quietly in the lawyer's office, watching my stepsister's face glow with triumph as Mr. Patterson read through the list of assets. The main residence at 1242 Maple Drive, valued at $2.8 million, to Cassandra Morrison. She smiled, perfectly manicured nails drumming against her designer handbag. The summer house in the Hamptons, valued at $3.1 million, to Cassandra Morrison. My mother dabbed at her eyes with a tissue, though I hadn't seen any actual tears. The investment portfolio, approximately $5.4 million, to Cassandra Morrison. The list went on. Properties, cars, art collections, everything my father had built over his lifetime, all going to my stepsister, the girl who had spent the last 5 years convincing him that I was unworthy of the family name. Finally, Mr. Patterson reached the end of the primary assets, and to Emma Warner, he adjusted his glasses, the violin shop at 156 Grove Street. Cassandra didn't even try to hide her laugh. Oh, that's perfect. Daddy's little musician gets the dusty old shop. How appropriate. I said nothing, just nodded my acceptance. The violin shop had been my grandfather's, passed down to my father, and now to me. In Cassandra's eyes, it was worthless, just a small storefront in an unfashionable part of town, filled with old instruments and fading sheet music. But Cassandra had never bothered to look closely at the shop. She'd never gone down to the basement, never seen what was behind the hidden door in the back room, never understood what my grandfather had really built. Well, she stood up, smoothing her expensive dress. I should get going. So many properties to manage, investments to oversee. She turned to me with fake sympathy. Good luck with the shop, Emma. Maybe you can give violin lessons to pay the rent. My mother touched my arm as they left. Dear, if you need help. I'll be fine, Mom. I managed a small smile. The shop is all I need. They both looked at me with pity before walking out, their heels clicking on the polished floor. Mr. Patterson waited until they were gone before speaking. Miss Warner, there's one more document. He pulled out an envelope, sealed with wax. Your grandfather insisted this be given to you privately, after the main will reading. My hands trembled slightly as I took it. The seal bore my grandfather's initials, G.W. George Warner, the man who had taught me everything about music, business, and keeping secrets. Inside was a single key and a letter written in his familiar, elegant hand. My dearest Emma, if you're reading this, then everything has gone according to plan. Cassandra has taken the bait, the obvious wealth, the properties, the investments, but she never understood the true value of what we built. The key opens the second safe in the basement office, the one behind the Stradivarius case. Inside you'll find everything you need to take control of Warner Music Holdings. Let them think they've won. Let them believe the shop is nothing but a quaint reminder of the past. The truth will be so much sweeter when they finally discover it. All my love, Grandpa. I tucked the letter into my bag, my heart pounding with anticipation. For 5 years, I had played my part perfectly, the quiet daughter who only cared about music, who spent her time in the old shop while Cassandra dazzled our parents with her business acumen and social connections. No one had questioned why I was content with just the violin shop. No one had wondered why I smiled when Cassandra slowly convinced our father to write me out of the main inheritance. They should have asked more questions. That evening, I walked into the violin shop for the first time as its official owner. The familiar smell of wood and varnish welcomed me home. Violins hung from the walls, some genuine antiques, others excellent reproductions. Sheet music filled the old wooden shelves. Everything exactly as it had been for decades. I locked the front door and walked to the back room, past the repair bench where I had spent countless hours learning the craft from my grandfather. The hidden door was there, disguised as a storage cabinet. Only someone who knew exactly where to press would find the latch. The basement office looked like something from another world. State-of-the-art computers lined one wall, their screens showing real-time data from recording studios around the globe. A massive display tracked streaming numbers, record sales, and concert revenues. Warner Music Holdings wasn't just a company, it was an empire. One that my grandfather had built from the ground up, using the violin shop as both cover and headquarters. While everyone thought he was just a humble instrument maker, he was revolutionizing the music industry. record labels, streaming platforms, production studios, concert venues, all operating under different names, all connecting back to this basement office. The worthless violin shop was the heart of a $100 million empire. And now it was mine. I found a safe exactly where his letter had indicated, hidden behind a case containing what appeared to be a priceless Stradivarius. The key fit perfectly. Inside were folders containing ownership documents, account numbers, passwords, everything I needed to step into my grandfather's role. There was also another letter. Emma, by now you understand why we kept this secret. Why we let them believe what they wanted to believe. The music industry is changing, and Warner Music Holdings is positioned to lead that change. The labels are performing beyond projections. The streaming platform is set to launch next quarter. The new concert venue acquisitions are almost complete. Your father never understood my vision. He saw only the surface, the properties, the investments, the obvious signs of wealth. Cassandra is the same. They want what they can see and touch, what they can show off at their society parties. But you, my dear girl, you understand that true power isn't about what you display. It's about what you build in the shadows. Take care of our empire, and when the time is right, show them what real success looks like. Love always, Grandpa. I sat in his chair, my chair now, and turned on the main computer system. Numbers scrolled across the screens, each one representing another piece of the empire he had never known existed. The streaming platform alone was valued at $30 million, set to revolutionize how independent artists reached their audiences. The record labels were signing Grammy winners and discovering new talent. The concert venues were booking sold-out shows months in advance. All of it running smoothly, quietly, behind the facade of a small violin shop that Cassandra thought was worthless. My phone buzzed. A text from my stepsister. Moved into the main house today. Hope the shop's dusty shelves are everything you dreamed of. I smiled, thinking of the empire humming beneath my feet. Let her have the houses, the cars, the obvious trappings of wealth. I had something better. I had power they couldn't see, influence they couldn't understand, and a future they couldn't imagine. Thanks, I texted back. The shop is perfect. Then I turned back to the screens, ready to take control of my inheritance, the real inheritance, the one that would change the music industry forever. The one that Cassandra, in her rush to grab everything shiny and obvious, had completely overlooked. Grandpa was right. Sometimes the best success is the kind you build in silence, while others are too busy making noise to notice. And soon, very soon, they would all hear the symphony I was about to conduct. The next 6 months were extraordinary. While Cassandra filled social media with photos of her new life, lounging by the Hamptons pool, shopping for sports cars, hosting lavish parties, I was quietly orchestrating a revolution in the music industry. The streaming platform launched exactly as planned. We called it Soundwave, and it transformed how independent artists reached their audiences. Unlike traditional platforms, ours gave artists complete control over their music and 85% of the revenue. Within 3 months, we had over 2 million subscribers. Cassandra's first visit to the shop came on a rainy Tuesday. I was in the basement office, finalizing contracts for 3 new concert venues when the bell above the door chimed. Hello, her voice carried down the stairs. Emma, are you here in this charming little place? I quickly locked the basement door and headed upstairs, finding her examining a violin with barely concealed disdain. Cassandra, what brings you here? She set the violin down carelessly, a $50,000 instrument that made me wince. Just checking on my little sister, making sure you're managing. The corner of her mouth twitched. She was expecting to find me struggling, desperate. Instead, I was calm, collected, and oddly happy. I'm managing just fine, I said, straightening the violin she mishandled. The shop keeps me busy. Yes, well, she glanced around at the dusty shelves. I suppose someone has to keep Grandpa's little hobby alive. Though I can't imagine how you're making ends meet. This place can't bring in more than a few $100s a week. If she only knew that while she was speaking, the empire beneath our feet was generating thousands in revenue every minute. It's enough, I said simply. Listen, she leaned in conspiratorially, I might have a business proposition for you. The Hamptons house needs a music room, something to impress my new social circle. I could buy some of these old violins, as a favor, of course. I smiled. Sorry, not for sale. Don't be ridiculous. Everything's for sale. Name your price. The instruments stay where they are. She straightened, annoyance flashing across her face. Fine, keep your dusty old shop. I'm trying to help you, you know. Mom's worried sick about you, living like this. After she left, I returned to the basement and pulled up the daily reports. Soundwave had just signed another major independent artist. Our newest concert venue in Los Angeles was sold out for the next year. The record labels were breaking streaming records. I thought about Cassandra's offer to buy the violins as a favor and laughed. Then came the industry news that changed everything. A major traditional streaming platform was failing, its stock price plummeting as artists and listeners abandoned it in droves. Most were coming to Soundwave. The business world was buzzing about the mysterious company that had revolutionized music streaming. Speculation about the owner was rampant. Some thought it was a tech billionaire in disguise. Others suggested a consortium of major artists. No one guessed it was the quiet girl who ran an old violin shop. Cassandra, meanwhile, was beginning to have problems. I heard about it through my mother's worried phone calls. The investment portfolio isn't performing as well as expected, she confided. And maintaining all those properties, the costs are overwhelming. Cassandra's talking about selling the Hamptons house. I made sympathetic noises while watching Soundwave's revenue ticker climb higher. The breaking point came at another family dinner. Cassandra had insisted on hosting at the main house, probably its last hurrah before she had to sell it. I just don't understand, she complained over appetizers. Everything was perfectly planned. The properties, the investments, it should have been enough to live on forever. Perhaps if you'd spent less on parties and cars, my mother suggested gently. Or, I spoke up, if you'd looked more carefully at what the family business really was. Cassandra snorted. What, selling violins? Please, I got everything of value in Dad's will. Did you? I pulled out my phone and opened the Soundwave app. Have you heard of this? Of course I have. Everyone's talking about it. Some tech genius who's revolutionizing the industry. She trailed off, her eyes narrowing as she saw the admin interface on my screen. No, she whispered. I smiled. Grandpa didn't just sell violins, Cassandra. He built an empire. One that you were too busy grabbing houses to notice. The color drained from her face. You're lying. This is some kind of trick. Warner Music Holdings, I said clearly. Parent company of Soundwave. Owner of 12 record labels, 30 concert venues, and the fastest-growing music streaming platform in history, all headquartered in the basement of a dusty old violin shop. My mother dropped her fork. Emma, what are you saying? I'm saying that while Cassandra was redecorating the Hamptons house, I was launching a platform that's now worth over $100 million. While she was buying sports cars, I was acquiring concert venues. While she was hosting parties, I was revolutionizing an industry. Cassandra stood up so quickly her chair fell backward. This isn't possible. Dad left me everything of value. He left you everything he knew about, I corrected her. Grandpa was smarter than that. He knew you'd try to take it all, knew you'd only see the obvious wealth. So he built something better, something hidden, and left it to someone who understood that real success isn't about showing off. I'll fight this, she sputtered. I'll get lawyers. Go ahead. I interrupted calmly. Everything's perfectly legal. The company's been operating for decades, all properly registered and documented. You just never bothered to look beyond the violins. I stood up, smoothing my simple dress. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a company to run. Feel free to keep the houses, Cassandra. I prefer working from my dusty old shop. The aftermath was exactly what you'd expect. Cassandra hired lawyers, but they found everything ironclad. She tried to claim she'd been deceived, but the will was clear. She even attempted to sell her story to business magazines. But they were more interested in interviewing the brilliant young CEO who had transformed the music industry. 1 year after that dinner, Cassandra had sold most of her inheritance just to maintain her lifestyle. The houses, the cars, the artwork, all gone to pay for her excesses. The violin shop, meanwhile, continued its quiet existence. Customers still came in looking for instruments or repairs, never suspecting that beneath their feet lay the headquarters of a billion-dollar empire. Last week, Cassandra came to the shop again. No designer clothes this time, no condescending smile. I was wrong, she said simply, about everything. I nodded, continuing to polish a violin. The houses, the cars, they're all gone now, she continued. I thought I was so clever, manipulating Dad to give me everything. But I missed what really mattered. Yes, I agreed. You did. She hesitated. I need a job. I looked up at her finally. Do you know anything about music? No. About business ethics? About building something real instead of just showing off wealth? She shook her head. Then start learning, I said, handing her a beginner's violin. Lesson 1. Sometimes the most valuable things are the ones you have to look harder to see. Today, the violin shop still stands, looking exactly as it has for decades. Customers still come and go, most never realizing they're walking through the front door of a multi-billion-dollar company. Cassandra works in the shop now, learning the craft from the ground up. She's not very good at it yet, but she's trying. More importantly, she's learning what Grandpa tried to teach us all along, that true success isn't about what you can show off, but what you can build when no one's looking. As for me, I split my time between the basement office and the repair bench upstairs. Because while running an empire is exciting, there's something special about working with these old instruments, about preserving the art that started it all. Sometimes late at night, I think I can hear Grandpa laughing at the perfect justice of it all, at how his quiet plan played out exactly as he hoped. The granddaughter who loved music and understood value beyond price got the empire, while the stepsister who only saw surface wealth ended up with nothing but lessons learned too late. And the violins? They still hang on the walls, watching over it all, keeping our secrets safe behind their polished wood and perfect strings.